What is up, guys? Welcome. Crypto FUD. And let's jump right into this, guys. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. TJ's in the house. What's going on, bro? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Let's jump into this, guys. Let's do this. We're not going to be here for too long, so let's just do this. As far as Bitcoin right now, we're looking solid. We are looking solid right now. We are up to 112,000, right under that 112,300. Sorry, I need some water. Just got back from the gym. Khalil, what's going on, brother? Yeah, so Bitcoin not doing bad at all. 112,272 to be exact. Ethereum, nice little jump right out of this nice little descending channel that we had sitting at around 44.71 right now, coming up to a big spot that we're going to probably have as some resistance. That's going to be somewhere around that 4,500 area. It looks like as of late, we have had on the daily, we've had these spurts where we do break up, and it looks like we're breaking out, running up to 45, but so far in the last 4 days for Ethereum, we've run up there, and this will be, whenever we do come up here, will be the third time in 4 days that we've come up there and been rejected every time. So hopefully, as I always tell you guys, if we keep basically testing a certain area, whether it's up or down, it's most likely going to break. So hopefully this third time is a charm for us to run up and break above. Bitcoin, like I said, we already talked about the price. Nice little down trend that we've had, and you can see as of yesterday, we are on the daily. You can see as of yesterday, we did break out of that trend, and it looks like we're starting to really stay above the trend, finding some good solid support as of now around that 110,600 area. So right now, things look good. We talked about this yesterday, guys. We have some big macro stuff coming in on Friday in regards to unemployment. I'm getting mixed signals. I know we talked about this yesterday, and I indicated that with unemployment, it's something that the feds are looking to see actually get higher, right? Unfortunately, right? They want a weaker labor market that gives them the ammo to basically start reducing interest rates, right? So as of now, you can see, because it is supposed to be coming in a little bit higher than what we had previously, you can see as of yesterday, we've gone up even more on the chance that investors are basically betting that we're going to see some kind of a Fed reduction in interest rates, some kind of a rate cut coming up in the next less than, or actually 2 weeks to be exact. So we have 95.6% chance that the feds are going to be reducing interest rates coming up in 2 weeks. I mean, this is going to be nothing but positive for the market. Is this going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event? I explained this yesterday. Even if it is, I think it's going to be short term, as far as even if we see some sell pressure after maybe a day or two after the announcement gets queued out there that they're going to reduce rates. Only because if you see, we have basically October meeting rolling around 6 weeks after this next meeting, and we already have basically the same thing. Almost 100% of the market is indicating that we're going to see a reduction, some kind of a fake Fed cut. I think the difference between September we already know it's going to be a quarter basis point, right? It would be awesome if Jerome Powell comes out and he starts getting real aggressive, maybe doing 50, 70, 75 basis point reductions. And it's not out of the realm, because if you remember just about a year ago when they were doing the two reductions in interest rates, they actually went aggressive on one of them and dropped 0.75, right? 75 basis points. So you can see October, it's not about if we're going to get one from right now. Things are going to change most likely, but you can see it's not about if investors are thinking if we're going to get one, it's how much are we going to get, right? And then December, same thing, right? September, the same thing. Are we going to get that quarter, or are we going to see some kind of a 50 or 75 basis point coming up in December? Right now, I think we're going to see September, and I think we're going to see December. Anything other than that will be just amazing, right? Because then now you're seeing for the next 3 Fed meetings some kind of a Fed cut. I think that'll be nothing but positive for risk on assets like Bitcoin, stock market, and all these fun things that we're invested in. So, but as of now, guys, the market is starting to slowly pick back up. I mean, I wouldn't get ahead of ourselves, because you guys know how things work. We could be, looking like we're running up. Bitcoin can easily run up to 115, 117, and then bam, the next day we're right back down to 110 for right now. It seems to be how the market is running. But look at the alts right now. Look at alts. Crow's up 7%, Ondo's up about 7%, Arbitrum 5%, Fartcoin 6.5%, Pumps up another 5%, Meme Core, which was up like crazy yesterday, another 14%, OKB 9%. We can go across the board here, a sea of green with very little bit of red across the bubbles here for the top 100. Things look great. The market is trying to pick back up. I just think right now we're still in this kind of iffy stage where a lot of investors are like, because we're only in it's the 3rd of September, right? And investors are like, I thought September is supposed to be one of the worst months for crypto and for stocks. So you're still seeing a lot of money staying on the sidelines as of now, right? You're seeing big money, right? We covered it yesterday. Whales, Michael Saylor, Tom Lee, a lot of these mysterious whales, they're still accumulating massive amounts of either Bitcoin or Ethereum during these dips. It's really, you're seeing scared retail and maybe bigger investors out there that were trying to get ahead of the game in regards to really anticipating September was going to be a bad month, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? And I told you guys this yesterday. If we probably get into the end of first week, going into the second week, and we're looking good, kind of like how we're doing right now, you're going to start seeing that money coming back because all that pre-sale that we had the week before September, as most likely those people are going to start coming back in and getting their positions because we already know, historically speaking, October, November, and December are usually fantastic months, especially during those 4-year cycles, right? So looking at the liquidation heat map right here, you can see kind of where we're having a lot of liquidity, right? Right now, basically where we're having a lot of liquidity, I'm sure this is probably a lot of shorts that are piled up for right now, somewhere around that 112,500 area. And we also have a big area around 112,300, right? So that's what you're seeing. And that's pretty much where we have a big spot. 112.6 is where I have a spot for resistance. You can see we've kind of bounced off this area multiple times before we went down to 110. So I'm sure this is going to be an area where we have a lot of liquidity and or a lot of people maybe piling in on some kind of shorts, whatever the case is. Let them do that because at some point they're going to get wrecked. All these people, same people that were opening up longs last week that we were covering that were sitting there just getting wrecked. Now they're all revenge trading because we had a little bit of a bounce. They're sitting here thinking, oh, well, September is supposed to be a bad month. Let me open up all this leverage shorts. And that's great because when we start pumping, they'll start dumping, right? You know the saying, right? We'll start pumping, they'll start dumping. So, but no, in all due reality, guys, things look great. We have unemployment, like I said, dropping on Friday. We talked about this yesterday. Forecasts supposed to be around 4.3%. That's just a tick higher from previous 4.2. And then the non-farm payrolls, I think, is going to be pretty much nothing because it's such a small number, right? Normally, you're seeing hundreds of thousands of non-farm payroll jobs being created. For whatever reason, it has been very weak. Previous was 73. The forecast to be somewhere around 75,000, which is unfortunately great if you're an investor and risky your assets because this is what the feds are looking for, right? Gina, what is going on, girl? I was thinking about you the other day. I was like, I have not seen you in any of the streams or the Discord. What's going on? Said I finally made it to the live stream. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks, Crip, for all you do. I appreciate you, Gina. Right back. Thank you so much for being here. So let's just cover some Hopium. Like I said, we're not going to be here for too long. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but we're going to fly through pretty much everything that's going on here. So Crypto.com CEO predicts a strong Q4 if Fed cut rates at September meeting, right? So this is big here. Let me pull up, let's see here. Where is the not liquidation? What am I looking for here? There we go. So we'll read this article. I just wanted to pull this up here. So the CEO of Crypto.com is predicting a strong Q4. Q4 basically being October, November, and December, right? So Crypto.com CEO Chris expects a strong fourth quarter for digital assets if the Federal Reserve's cut rates at its September 17th meeting, citing improved market conditions and increased liquidity for risk assets. The prediction comes as the CME future market price a 90% probability, which has gone up even more. We just checked it. It's at 95 now. Probability of a rate cut following the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's dovish speech at Jackson Hole. While crypto markets position for an extended rallies amid anticipated monetary easing. In an interview with Bloomberg, looks like Chris revealed that Crypto.com generated $1.5 billion in revenue last year with $1 billion in gross profit. Yeah, how do you think they're getting all that profit? Friggin', you go and sell $200 worth of crypto and they take $50 of it. I'm not going to get into it. I love Crypto.com, but their fees are outrageous. Predicting a better performance in 2025 driven by a lower borrowing cost and increased institutional adoption. According to him, top investment banks have approached the exchange regarding a potential IPO, but it remains privately held, enjoying operational flexibility while maintaining a solid balance sheet. So, I mean, pretty much he's stating what we already know, right? But you're starting to see the big guys, announcing this, right? And this is good because maybe not everyone watches Crypto FUD and no one watches the YouTube channels yet, right? That we all circulate the same information, but you're seeing the big guys, right? These billionaires that run these enormous central exchanges saying, dude, if we get rate cuts, expect a lot of volume to be coming in towards the fourth quarter, these last few months of the year, indicating, right, that the appetite is going to be ripe for riskier assets if the conditions allow, right? And that's what we've been saying here. But the point of what we're doing is we're trying to get ahead of the curve, right? We already knew this was pretty much the story. That's why we've been talking about this for the last few months. We cover all this stuff because now they're coming out, and I'm sure this is going to bring in a lot of new investors. I told you guys this a month ago. You go back to 2021 and everybody used Coinbase, right? Everybody used Binance, right? And those are still the two bigger exchanges, but you have a lot of people now that use Crypto.com. You have a lot of people that use KuCoin, and maybe some of these other mid-tier exchanges, right? So, I mean, when you're seeing stuff like this, you're going to see a lot of new money flowing in, right? Coming into these exchanges, and they're going to be buying a lot of these riskier assets, aka alts, meme coins, and stuff like that. You guys already know I love Bitcoin, I love Ethereum. When new money's coming in and they only have a few $1,000s to play with, how they, we already talked about how usually the train of thought is, right? They come in and they look at what they can buy, right? And they always try to look for the bigger bang. They don't know to look for circulating supply, most of them, or market caps. They're just looking for, holy crap, if I put $500 on Dogecoin, I can get, 20,000 Dogecoin or whatever the case is, because it's under $1. And imagine Shiba and all these other, meme coins that have 7 zeros in front of them. Milady, so. Johnny, what's going on, man? So don't forget to hit the likes for Crypto FUD. I appreciate it, bro. Yesterday we did great. We did like 25 likes, I think, on the stream. I was very appreciative when I saw. I was like, hell yeah, appreciate that. And then I went to another stream where there was like 5,000 people in there, and there was only like 100 likes, and I was like, all right, I understand. People just do not like to hit the like button. I don't know what it is. People do not like to hit the like button, so I respect it, right? I respect it, so. But yeah, this is good. This is good here. So Fed rate cut optimism drives quarter four crypto rally expectations. Powell's Jackson Hole remark triggered widespread forecast revisions with Morgan Stanley, Barclays, and BNP Paribas and Deutsche Bank now expecting September rate cuts. The Fed chair acknowledged labor market weakening, right, which we're supposed to see more of that coming up on Friday, citing July's disappointing $73,000 payroll additions, it's supposed to tick up slightly to 75, right, which is good, and the downward revisions to previous months. Earlier this month, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called for a 50 basis point cut following incredible inflation data, which is a shift from the Fed's hawkish stance. So we've already said this, right? We already knew the last 6 months, Jerome Powell has really been kind of in the middle of everything, right? People consider Jerome Powell to be the second most powerful person in the world, right? He doesn't run any militaries, right? He can't, send troops to countries and invade, nothing like that, right? But he runs the global markets, right? When he talks, people listen, right? It's just how it is. He is not, obviously, he's not under anybody as far as the president or anybody. They're a completely separate branch. So he is able to basically operate without risk of, being fired or anything like that. And the reason why I say this is because he's been basically being pressured that he needs to reduce interest rates. And I agree. It has been overdue. But on his end, he doesn't want to go down in history as, if you guys remember, if you know history as far as inflation, go back into the 70s and 80s, right? And there was a time where inflation was technically worse, and the Fed chair at the time basically just started reducing interest rates, and inflation, as inflation was coming down, they started to reduce interest rates, and inflation actually came up and 3x'd out of nowhere, and they had to make the hard decision to increase interest rates insanely, right? I don't think Jerome Powell wants to go through that stuff, especially nowadays, the way the government or the way the world is just basically intertwined financially. It would send ripples across the world to where, like I said, it's not just for the American economy, which obviously they care about. It's a world economy that this could have, implications on. So he's, in between a rock and a hard place in regards to, his job and what he's trying to do, globally and stuff like that. So, but hopefully, we could see, I think if the Feds reduce 50 basis points in September, I think the markets, that would just spark the markets to where I think we would probably go, let's just say Bitcoin's at 112,000 in 2 weeks, right? Hopefully it's not, but let's just say it's at 112 in 2 weeks. If Jerome Powell came out and said the Feds were reducing 50 basis points, just 50 basis points, you would probably see Bitcoin run up to 120,000 probably by the end of that day, right? S&P would make all-time highs, Dow Jones, right? The dollar would come down, gold would probably come down, and you would see the alts, Ethereum probably breaking all-time highs, stuff like that. It would be a big, big move for the markets. But even that 25 basis points is going to be a positive move. I just think that the 50 would throw a lot of people off in a good way, and you'd see a lot of that money that's sitting on the sidelines right now, thinking that September is going to be that terrible month, right? Expecting, right, what we normally see. And you're going to see a lot of that money come flying in if we were to see a 50 basis point. I think it's going to happen regardless with the 25. But Ricky, what's going on? Jay in the house. Both my Jays are in the house. What's going on, guys? Amor, very, very patiently waiting for the next month when or if it's finally time to pop off. I hear you, bro. Just be ready, all right? Because I swear, Amor, if we're in a member stream in 6 months from now and you're telling me that you're still holding on to all your positions and we topped out, I'm just thinking hypothetically, I'm going to have to come through the screen and come get you, bro. I'm just telling you right now, all right? I will. Remember, we got to get all this liquidity. Ozoma, what's going on, brother? We have to get all this liquidity so we're lined up for the bear market. Remember, you make the most money in a bear market, but you got to take profits during the bull run, right? You see how that works? You take profits during the bull run, and then now you have all this liquidity. And when we go through the bear market and everybody's running and screaming, crypto's a scam, it's over, you're just accumulating for the long term because it's not an overnight thing. Last bear market ran 18 months. It was brutal. But it was brutal going through it, but it was amazing when you were coming out of that bear market and you had just been buying Fetch AI for 10 cents. Bitcoin dropped down to 15,000 Ethereum got down to like $900 again. You know, you can go down the list. It was incredible prices. I don't think we're going to see those prices again, but compared to what we're at right now and where we're going to be, you know, during the bear market, you're going to get those massive discounts. So let's see here. I think they just basically repeated themselves. Rising Fed rate cut chatter may be risky for crypto as sentiment warns social sentiment hits an 11th month peak, suggesting a potential market top ahead. Ooh, what is that? It looks like Bitcoin or Crypto.com's indicating that we're in a 4-year cycle and the top could be amongst us in the next couple months. They said it, right? They said it. Let me see what else we got on this article. Is there anything else? That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for that article. Where is this? I need to move this over here. So far for September, we're up almost 3% as of now. So we'll see. Wouldn't that be awesome? I don't know if this is. I feel like we owe at least one more red month in the year. But wouldn't it be awesome if we closed out 4 months in the green? Let's see if there's been 2023 it happened, right? The last 4 months. Let's see here. 2016 it happened. 2015 it happened, right? So it's not I would say it's not out of the normal, or how would I pronounce that correctly? Because it is not normal to see the last 4 months solid green, but it's not surprising that you can see there's been at least in the last 12 years, there's been 3 years that we've seen a solid 4 months, the last 4 months in the green. So, I mean, it's possible, right? It is very possible, for sure. Amor said, bro, trust me, I'm going to hit that sell button all the way up. Trust that. I'll DM you just how much I had in total at the high and held with screenshots at the low. You don't have to do that, bro, but I just want to hear that, you know, you took the profits and we're good to go as far as going into the bear market, bro. That's all I want to hear. That's all I want to hear, bro. Just looking out for you, man. I want to do listen to this real quick. I'm like worried. You guys remember the other day when we did a live and it was like echoing like crazy? I watched it after the fact and I was like it was like I was tripping out. Ricky said, "Ladies on the move, another 100%, and I'll be in the gravy." Nice. Jay said, "Waiting for that Solana and Ethereum top out at when we reach the top." Before we watch that, let's see here. Ethereum's looking good. I'm telling you guys that 4,500 is going to be that area that we're looking for. Hopefully, we can come back to retest it today. We get up to 4,500. We at least want to keep knocking on the door, right? Knocking on the door as far as that. Bitcoin and Ethereum, nice breakout of these downward trends. Solana looks good, dude. Solana looks great, honestly. I said this, what was it, like 2 weeks ago? As Ethereum's been moving up, I said, obviously, you have to have respect for Bitcoin. You have to have respect for Ethereum. But, you know, I'm telling you what's probably going to happen is Bitcoin runs, right? Always. Lag effect. Eventually, Ethereum runs. It'll kind of bring up the alt sector, right? And at some point, when we're going parabolic, you're going to see probably Solana, you know, and maybe a few other of these projects, these bigger projects. I think particularly Solana is going to start outperforming even Ethereum, you know, just because they kind of, I'm not going to say they're the same, but they both have big ecosystems, right? They have both big ecosystems, a lot of, you know, liquidity, a lot of projects being built on their blockchains and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised. And remember, guys, just next month, I feel like we haven't brought it up in a few weeks, but the ETFs are on the horizon for XRP, Solana, and I think maybe a few other bigger projects. You know, again, I don't think the ETFs for Solana particularly are going to be a big game changer like how Bitcoin was, right? Because if you remember, Ethereum's ETF really wasn't. It was a nothing burger for a while. It finally started to break out in these last few months as Ethereum has started to break out, right? The interest on institutions in Wall Street has picked up. Same thing with Solana right now. I don't think that a lot of these investors, they know about Solana, but I don't know if they're too interested in getting in on Solana or as of now, right? I'm not saying that I love Solana, right? I love Solana 100%. I think down the road, these ETFs for like Solana and XRP as well are going to play out very well. Kind of like how Ethereum, it took a while, but it finally picked up for Ethereum. Bitcoin was a completely different beast because for the last like 5 years, we've been waiting for an ETF for Bitcoin. And I can't tell you how many times, if you guys have been around for a while, just it was like hit possible ETFs for Bitcoin, and it would come up, and it would get denied, right? It would get denied. So finally, when it did happen, it was a big deal. It was a big deal for Bitcoin. So, but yeah, Solana looks good. 212, definitely still holding that upward trajectory as of now. So looks good. Let's pull up this. I want to see what this guy was saying here. This is shout out to George. Cryptos are us. I am George. I think he streamed earlier, but let's see here. Let me know if there's an echo.
Mr. Chairman, let me get your take on the digital assets legislation you just mentioned, the Genius and Clarity Acts. The Senate Banking Committee still discussing the framework for that Clarity Act. Senator Tim Scott chairs the committee, and he said that he believes there will be between 12 to 18 Democrats open to voting for a market structure on digital assets. How are you expecting this to play out?
Well, I really enjoyed working with Kirsten Gillibrand and Cynthia Lummis, both who've been real leaders.
Remember, Cynthia Lummis is basically the senator that's been running with crypto for the last few years. She is the one that has been getting all this stuff basically in motion, getting it in place for a lot of these bills to actually pass. Even before the elections, this lady has been like the crypto queen of like the government.
Chairman Tim Scott in the Senate has put together a working group on the digital assets framework. The Clarity Act in the House, which I wrote, got 78 Democrat votes here in the House. Back in July, we sent that to the Senate with really a suspension level vote. We got such overwhelming support by Democrats and Republicans. I would hope that the Senate would consider taking up the Clarity Act in their process and simply making improvements to it. I think that would be a great approach. But Tim Scott and his working group and the leadership.
So basically, we've been talking about this for a while, but you can see the chairman was speaking about it. The crypto market structure bill, Clarity Act, has overwhelming bipartisan support and hopes to get it done in the next few weeks. That's big. That's big. We've been talking about this, but this could pass in the next few weeks, where it could go into play. So, Old, what's going on, bro? What is going on, brother? Whoa, what was that? Gold reaches all-time high. That was yesterday. What's up, Punk? Old's working on the house again. Where's gold at today? Yeah, gold's making gold's still running. I mean, historically, I'm not gonna, like I always tell you guys, I'm not hating on gold, but usually with gold running, not necessarily a good thing for riskier assets in all due reality, because if gold's running, that usually means that money's going into gold. It's coming out of somewhere, right? Usually that means coming out of riskier assets as of now. So, I mean, gold's running. The crypto space is up. Ethereum's up 3.5%. That's awesome. So, we definitely, we don't want gold to keep moving. It needs to chill. Ricky said Milady is starting to run. He said all he needs is another 100%, and he's gravy. Another 100%. Let's measure 100% from where we're at right now. I hope you said 100%, not 100x, right? 100, that would put you somewhere around 706. They, for whatever reason, they TradingView did their I don't know if you guys can see, the charts are so different now for like these projects that have like a bunch of zeros in front of them. It's kind of a little confusing to read, but it has 706. You would think you're at the 62 cent mark, but They like moved the 7. They put a 7 there where it basically indicates there's 7 zeros in front of that. A little confusing, but yeah, I mean, really, you would basically all you need to do is double where you're at right now, which it'll happen. It'll happen at some point. Fear and greed, we've moved up. Remember yesterday we were in fear. We're slightly above now into neutral again. So, not too bad. I said yesterday, did I not say yesterday, fear, good time to accumulate. We said this yesterday. I wanted to see, Milady's market cap's only at $22 million, bro. That's solid. Let's see if there's anything going on with Milady. No news. Volume doesn't look too bad. 4.5 million. I mean, compared to a $22 million market cap, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Looking at DeFi, AI4 is up on Solana right now, up about 45%. Let me see here. You can see Chronos projects are starting to poke back out. Yesterday, Chronos was kind of having a rough day, just a little bit of a cool off, obviously, because the whole market was, but you can see a lot of these projects are starting to move up again. A project that I did buy in on yesterday was this Vise. I brought this up a couple times, particularly in our members only stream, because members only streams, we usually look for plays. And this was one of them that I did call out. I don't expect anyone to remember, but Vise, it ran into a buy area, and I told you guys I have Chronos, or basically Crow, sitting in a wallet that I kind of wanted to use, versus it kind of just sitting there. So I did convert a lot of it over because it was actually in USDC. So I converted it back over to Crow, and I did pick up this project Vise. Particularly, I mean, the project, I don't know much about it, but it likes to go on these crazy swings, right? You can see, so that was pretty much my only indication of me buying in on this project particularly, was that, it's got a small market cap, $4 million. Liquidity doesn't look bad. Volume, even during bad days, volume is not terrible. It usually does like $10,000, $20,000 a day. On Chronos, that's not bad, and it's 11 trending on the DEX. So I was like, you know what? It did have a nice run in the last couple weeks. It did run up considerably a lot, a nice little 2 to 3x. So I was like, you know what? We saw a big sell-off. Let me go ahead and just jump in. Didn't go crazy, but let me jump in on this and take advantage of the drop, and let's see if maybe we can get a nice little 2 or 3x on this project right here. So if you guys are interested, this is Vise on Chronos. So obviously not financial advice whatsoever, but that was one of the plays I did pick up yesterday while we were down. And then also kind of just doing, the same thing, same play, stacking up. Obviously, you guys know I'm very bullish on Mask. So we did see nice little, another retracement back down towards around the 67 area with 2 zeros in front of it. Guess what I did? I accumulated more, right? Accumulated more, just picking up, as I do see this project doing very well with a $7 million market cap and over 30,000 people holding on to the project on Solana. It's a no-brainer for myself. Trump's project, you guys can see, I told you guys this already, just to be cautious, right? It is down today. I did see some news that they basically burned like 50 million tokens. Let's see, what is this on Ethereum? I want to see something real quick. Let's see how many are in circulating supply. Oops. How many is in circulation? Yeah, they burned 47 million, right? But I mean, there's 99 billion in freaking circulation, so it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything, right? Them burning 47 million compared to 100 billion, it didn't do anything. Absolutely insane. 73,000 holders on that project. So, I don't know. Like I said, I personally, I'm not interested in buying in on the project unless it sees some kind of a massive drop. If this thing drops down below 20 cents, right, because you can see it already bounced at 20 cents. If it drops below 20 cents, right, and we're not talking like 19.9 cents, I'm not going all in on it, but if it drops down, maybe down into like the 15, 16 cent mark, I might throw a little bit of money end of the project and just kind of let it sit there to see if it's going to do something, right? So we'll see. It's still going over probably a lot of sell pressure from a lot of people getting in pre-sale, and maybe, some people are maybe looking at it as it's not performing the way it should. A lot of people were expecting this project to do what Trump coin did initially, and it really didn't. It really didn't. Even though the market cap's pretty similar, you didn't see a massive run like it did before whenever they dropped on Solana. It's been kind of just, there. So Ricky said, I guess there was a lot of liquidity for Bitcoin around 112 area, so if we can get past that, we could go much higher. Yeah, I mean, looking at the liquidation heat map, right, usually gives you a little bit of a sense of where there's some liquidity hiding. And you can see right now there is a lot of liquidity sitting at around that 112.5 area. You can see, and that's literally where we came up. So, yeah, like you said, I agree. If we can keep coming back up and retesting that area, which I do have, we've had it as an area as either support or resistance, a little bit above that area where liquidity is, somewhere around 112,600 is where I have a spot. You can see we've gone up, and this is on the daily. So if you look at the last 10 days, we've gone up 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Hold on here. We'll give this one 1, 2, 3, 4, and then potentially 5 times. We're going to come back up to retest this 112,600. So hopefully we can break above that and finally and start running. And if we do, like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, you'll probably see a lot of these, because this is right here is most likely shorts. These are probably shorts piling up around that area. If we can get some momentum breaking above that 112,600, you'll probably see a lot of these shorts get liquidated, and that'll just give us that nice little bump up that we need. But regardless, I'm expecting us to kind of not rally, but move up as we get closer towards Friday, right? Because remember, Friday is when we have our, I feel like something was crawling on me just now. Friday is when we have the unemployment numbers coming out, right? So this is going to be on September the 5th, which is Friday, and it's expected to come in a little bit higher than previously, which, like I said, if you're the one losing your job, not the best news, but if you're an investor and risk your assets, that's great. That's great news, right? See if anything shifted over here. Yeah, I mean, majority of the market is looking like that September is going to be where we see that reduction, that rate cut. So, but yeah, other than that, let me see here. Oh yeah, let's see here. So something unusual is building, and 9.81 billion of Bitcoin futures flows, and it could break either way. So I have not read this article. I don't know if it's bullish or bearish, but let's read it. Bitcoin short-term direction continues to depend on who's crossing the spread with market orders, not just how much leverage is open. Bitcoin's derivative market entered September with a split message. Traders are taking on more positions, but the balance of trading activity is leaning against price strength. Open interest climbed to. That was it? What the? Hold on here. Bro, do you see this? To read this article, it says connect your Solana wallet. Why the hell would I do that? I didn't even realize that. Why the hell would I connect my Solana wallet to a freaking crypto news site? These people are crazy. Galaxy issues shares on Solana. See tokenized stocks hitting 190 trillion in 20 years. Well, that pisses me off. I wanted to read that article. Like I said, I didn't read it. Trump's $5.7 billion WLFI sparks big question. What does it really offer? World Liberty Financial now carries a market value of around $5.5 billion. However, many of us who watched the WLFI's debate debut are still unsure what the project actually does. What has shipped and what, if anything, is new. All right, so let's see here. So the project describes WOFI as a governance asset. Holders can vote on proposals, including the July decision to make WOFI tradable, but published materials and third-party explainers do not show equity, revenue rights, or other cash flow tied to the token. That framing, the governance without economic rights, remain the clearest documented utility as of this week. Doesn't offer, I think down the road, like I said, the only reason why I would see myself buying in on this project is, think about it. I mean, obviously there's a lot of eyes on the president, even though he technically can't say anything about this project, but there's a lot of eyes on this project. I wouldn't be surprised if down the road there are going to be things going on that are going to include this project, right? And it'll just get that publicity, right? It will get that publicity even if it's short term. So if you see big drops, like I said, below 20 cents, maybe long term, this wouldn't be a bad play to just kind of, position yourself and maybe wait for, a month or two down the road when they announce that something big is partnering with WLFI, because that's probably what's going to happen, right? So right now, there isn't probably much to offer with the project. It just dropped, so maybe you'll see that big drop continue. Wait for a good time and maybe position myself into the project at a good price and kind of wait, because I do think that down the road they're probably going to be pushing stuff that's going to have some affiliation with this project. So who knows? Punk said, I'm buying more Milady. Hell yeah. Ladies is up 7.5%. She is up 7.5% right now. But other than that, across the board, I mean, DeFi is not having a bad day. I mean, solid green. Looking at the 24 hours, I mean, most of the projects that I'm following myself on my save list is in the green, right? So, looks good. Let me just make sure. Did we get everything? Crypto.com, we did that. Yeah, we're good to go. We're good to go, guys. So I think all eyes are going to be on for Friday, the 5th, right? We're waiting to see. Obviously, we want to see that the labor market obviously continue to weaken. We want to see unemployment, unfortunately, continue to go up higher. That's going to give the Feds that ammo for them to reduce rates. This right here, if unemployment comes in at least at what it forecasts or higher, I guarantee that this right here is going to go straight to 99% again, right? Because it's going to be written in stone that we're going to see that Fed cut coming in September. It pretty much is already there. This right here is just going to solidify, that decision. So all eyes will be there. We'll be obviously streaming when those numbers come out on Friday morning. That'll be around 8:30. Holy crap, I'm not going to be able to go to the gym that morning because I'm usually in the gym at 8:30. I have to put a pause to the gym. I'll go after the stream. So, but with that being said, guys, that's pretty much it. Members, we're going to be streaming either tonight or tomorrow, all right, doing our member stream because we do have some stuff to go over. So I will let you guys know in regards to that stream. But other than that, like I said, short stream today. Hope you guys have a fantastic, productive day today. And if you guys need anything from me, let me know. I'll see you guys soon, all right? Thank you. See ya.